Japan leads the medals table with 8 golds at the Tokyo Olympics. It was 13-year-old Momiji Nishiya's victory in the women's street skateboarding which put them ahead. There's a rush of gold for Team GB as well. Tom Daley and Massey Lee winning in the synchronised diving, one of 3 British golds on Monday. The UN publishes new data indicating Afghanistan has seen a record number of civilians killed in the first half of this year. More than 1,600 deaths were reported, a third of them children. There have been clashes outside Parliament in Tunisia following the president's sacking of the Prime Minister and suspending Parliament. Opposition politicians accuse him of carrying out a coup.
In Tunisia, soldiers prevent the head of Parliament from entering the building after the president dismissed the prime minister and suspended the legislature. In China, U.S. diplomat Wendy Sherman meets with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi to discuss issues including climate change, Iran, and North Korea. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin swears in Eli Ratner, the new Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security. And at the Tokyo Olympics, a 13-year-old Japanese skateboarder becomes the country's youngest gold medal winner.
Amid the celebration in Tokyo, the number of positive COVID cases keeps climbing. James Longman is live in Tokyo as well with the latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. There are now 153 cases of COVID-19 related to these Olympics, 19 of them athletes, and we've now had the first case of an athlete testing positive after he had competed. It's a Dutch rower. He tested positive after his heat on Friday. He then had to forfeit his event on the Saturday, and he's now in self-isolation. And it raises questions for other athletes where they come into close contact with one another during competition. Now, opposition to these games here in Japan has waned somewhat, but the case number is still high in Tokyo, around 1,400 new cases in the last 24 hours. Only 78 of them, though, were severe. And organisers have also had to remind athletes not to hug or remove their masks during competition. But they have made a small adjustment. They've said to athletes who've won medals that they can take their masks off when they're up there on the podium. Michael?
And James, we know COVID's one issue, but the weather is also becoming a problem.
Yeah, a storm has been threatening Japan for the last couple of days. It's already meant that the rowing and the archery events have had to be rescheduled. But the bigger issue here is the heat. It's something like 90 degrees most days, 80% humidity. A Russian archer actually passed out because of it, and some of the tennis players have asked for their events to be rescheduled. I can tell you, and Amy will say the same, it is boiling hot here. Michael?
All right, James Longman, thank you so much.
Check in with Dr. Ashton in LA for us right now with the questions that people have. Let's start with the first one here at Dr. Ashton. If COVID-19 is spread through airborne transmission, are all hand washing and cleaning protocols necessary if you've been vaccinated?
Great question. I would say they were probably overdone from the beginning because remember, at the beginning and end of the day, coronavirus is an airborne pathogen. That is the main route of spread. Now, you will never hear an infectious disease specialist, and I speak to them on a regular basis for our coverage, say, don't wash your hands, because hand hygiene, as you know, is very, very important, not just to help keep us protected against COVID from what we call surface or fomite transmission, touching our eyes, nose, or mouth, but a slew of other infectious diseases. So, yes, you want to still wash your hands, but do you need to spray down your groceries and bags? No.
But it's always a good idea to wash your hands, people. Next up here, Dr. Ashton, what is the best kind of non-dairy milk to consume? Almond, oat, coconut, pistachio, etc.
What's your favorite, TJ?
I don't, any of them. I have never had any of those.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put my nutritionist hat on here. When I got my degree in nutrition, we actually looked at this. Cow's milk has a unique nutritional profile. You're not going to really get those same exact things when you go to those plant-based alternatives. The big differences tend to be with respect to protein content and added sugar. Of course, some of it is your allergic profile. Are you allergic to tree nuts? That will limit your choices, your taste preference. So it's very, very individual. But read those labels. You hear me say it over and over again because it's so important. A lot of these plant-based milks are loaded in added sugar and they're lower in protein, so check those labels.
All right, Dr. Ashton, thank you as always. Folks, submit your questions to Dr. Jen on our Instagram at Dr. J. Ashton.
A 13-year-old Japanese skateboarder has made Olympic history by winning the first ever gold in the women's street event. All 3 medalists were teenagers, making for one of the youngest Olympic podiums. With the 8 finalists struggling to land their tricks, Nishiya Momiji came through smiling to take the gold for Japan a day after compatriot Horigome Yuto won the men's event. Nishiya becomes one of the youngest ever Olympic champions at 13 years and 10 months. The junior high schooler is just 2 months older than Marjorie Gestring, who took a gold in diving at the 1936 Berlin Games. Nishiya told reporters afterwards her age had nothing to do with going home as a champion. Fellow 13-year-old Raissa Leal of Brazil won silver. She first hit the headlines in 2015 with a viral video featuring her as a skating fairy. And another Japanese teen took bronze. 16-year-old Nakayama Funa first won the national title when she too was just 13. Newspapers in Nishiya's hometown of Osaka handed out special editions shortly after her victory. Young people in the area reacted to the news.
It's amazing that a girl around my age got an Olympic gold medal.
My whole family was cheering when she won.
In judo, Japan's Ono Shohei has won the gold medal in the men's 73-kilogram category. He beat Georgia's Lasha Shaftatuashvili in the final. Ono also won the gold in Rio 5 years ago. The 29-year-old hasn't lost an international match since 2014, except for dropping out due to injuries. Japan has earned 4 gold medals in judo in the past 3 days. Now to table tennis. Japan's Mizutani Jun and Ito Mima have won the gold medal in the first ever Olympic mixed doubles event. They've beaten Chinese pair Xu Xin and Liu Shiwen in the final. It's also Japan's first gold medal in the sport. Now, athletes from the Russian Olympic Committee have won gold in the men's artistic gymnastics team event in Tokyo in a close competition. The team earned 262.500 points in total. They defeated defending champion Japan by only 0.103. China took the bronze. In swimming, reigning champion and world record holder Adam Peaty defended his 100-meter breaststroke crown. The British swimmer had described the crowd-free arena as weird, but added the unique conditions are psychological things athletes just have to adapt to. The United States grabbed the gold in the men's 400-meter freestyle relay for the second straight Olympics, finishing well ahead of Italy and Australia. The win provides a perfect start for star swimmer Caleb Dressel, who's aiming for 6 golds at the Games. The start of the Rugby Sevens event on Monday saw men's defending champion Fiji close out a tight pool match against host nation Japan. The Fijians also defeated Canada in their second match of the day. The 2016 title was Fiji's first ever Olympic gold. And in softball, the United States edged Japan 2-1 in their opening round game to finish with a perfect 5-0 record. The two powerhouses meet again on Tuesday with the gold medal this time on the line. It'll be a rematch of Beijing 2008 when Japan came out on top. The organizing committee says athletes who test positive for the coronavirus can still take part in the Games if they meet certain conditions. The committee said on Monday, infected athletes are able to compete if they have no symptoms and complete a 10-day isolation. They're also able to play after a 6-day isolation if they test negative in 2 tests taken at an interval of over 24 hours. The organizers earlier announced 2 players on South Africa's football squad tested positive for the virus on July 18th. The two took part in a match against France on Sunday after they were absent from their first match last Thursday. The organizers said Monday 16 people related to the Games have tested positive, including 3 athletes from overseas. Cases linked to the Games since July 1st now stand at 148. A tropical storm is approaching the Pacific coast of eastern Japan. Weather officials are warning of torrential rain, strong winds, and high waves over the next few days. Officials say tropical storm Nepartak could make landfall near the Tokyo area on Tuesday. It's expected to bring heavy rain to a wide area of northeastern Japan through Wednesday. The organizers of the Tokyo Games have already rescheduled rowing and archery events. They say they'll make safety their top priority as they decide on any further schedule changes. And they'll provide information as quickly as possible. Moving now to a major decision concerning the 1945 bombing of Hiroshima. Japan's Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide says the government has decided not to appeal a court ruling that expanded the definition of hibakusha, or atomic bomb survivors.
The government should provide state support to all 84 plaintiffs based on the principle of the law. That's the conclusion I have reached.
The so-called black rain containing radioactive material fell shortly after the atomic bomb exploded over Hiroshima 76 years ago. At that time, the 84 plaintiffs or their family members were outside of an area the government officially designated for state relief programs. But they say they also developed health problems because they were exposed to radiation from the rain. Earlier this month, an appeal court in Hiroshima upheld a lower court's ruling that recognizes them as hibakusha. Now all the survivors will have access to free medical care.
I hope the decision will be the first step towards saving all the affected people. I am determined to see it through until everyone gets support.
Suga says his administration will further examine the issue so the relief measures can be extended to others who were exposed to the radioactive rain. UNESCO's World Heritage Committee has added 4 sites in southwestern Japan to its World Natural Heritage List. They include forests with diverse wildlife.
Adopted.
I feel as if we've won a big gold medal.
The Japanese government had been pushing for the designation for about 43,000 hectares of forest and wildlife on islands in Kagoshima and Okinawa prefectures. The islands are home to unique species, including the Amami rabbit, the Iriomote cat, and a bird known as Yambaruquina. The areas are Japan's 5th World Natural Heritage Site. Moving to the latest on the visit to China by a senior U.S. diplomat, which was the first since President Joe Biden took office. The Chinese side has urged the U.S. to change its policy towards Beijing. It blamed Washington for strained bilateral relations. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman met with Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Xie Feng on Monday in the city of Tianjin near Beijing. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Xie said the relationship between their countries is now in a stalemate and faces serious difficulties. He said this is fundamentally because some Americans portray China as an imagined enemy. He added his nation urges the U.S. to change its highly misguided mindset and dangerous policy. On Sunday night, Sherman tweeted the U.S. administration is pushing for a level playing field for American companies in China. Some observers believe she's taking a tough stance on issues such as the South China Sea and human rights.